God, you have to think about creation. You know, basically, God gave man a task. He gave man dominion over the earth. So he said, be fruitful and multiply and have dominion over the earth. For this task to occur, it would imply that you would have to be healthy to do it. How can you have dominion over the earth as a morbid, obese person sitting in your house? You know, there's not really a way that you can really take dominion over certain things. You know, so this leads us to deduce that there's a reason why he created us to have dominion, and that we have to be able to physically dominate the earth the way that he wanted us to as a part of his plan. Okay. God and health. God and health are so closely related, and it's so sad that in this day and age it's not seen. If you look at the word salvation, the word salvation in Hebrew is known as Yeshua. Yeshua. That's why, if you remember in Aramaic, it's very similar to what they used to call Jesus, Yeshua. But if you look at what Yeshua translated, actually means health. So it's obvious that God has a favor, or I'm looking for the word, something. He basically has he's in favor of health. It's safe to deduce that God is in favor of health. If you look at Jesus' public ministry while he was on earth, ministering to the sick was part of his public ministry. So it's obvious that that was part of his plan. He came, he healed people who were sick, people who have different ailments. So God is obviously in favor of health. So why would the two be seen as separate? In the early church, a lot of people don't know this, the first hospitals came and were established by the early church. The first hospitals that actually took care of people. So when you think about these types of things, it tells you that, well, health really started in the church, and it should return. The third verse, 3 John verse 2, says, Beloved, I pray that you prosper in all things and be in good health as your soul prospers. So that means that he's not just talking about your soul. He's saying, I want you to be in good health as your soul prospers as well. That's very important. 1 Timothy 4:8. Now, this verse, a lot of people pay attention to the latter part, the B part of this verse, where it says, godliness has value for all things. But if you notice at the very beginning, he says, for physical training is of some value. So he didn't say it's of no value. He said it is of some value. However, you should focus on your walk with Christ. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. However, you can't negate the fact that this was obviously something that was seen of value in the biblical times. If you look at the different verses that Paul has given, such as the race is not given to the swift nor the strong, but he that endureth to the end. All these different sports-like things that are mentioned in the Bible show that there's obviously some mindset of some sort of fitness, exercise, sports going on that led them to use these analogies in reference to God. So there's so many parallels. So why are the two separate? And if you look at Exodus 15:26, he says, I am the Lord that heals you. Okay? Fitness, health and fitness. So basically, I'm showing God and health. So you see the relationship between God and health. Now I'm showing the relationship between health and fitness. And then we're going to get to the relationship between God and fitness so that we understand how closely the two are connected. Fitness is a disciplined science that applies nutrition, physical exercise, and influences certain scientific health factors for individuals that may be prone to certain diseases or prone to certain things faced in during their life. This science, in most cases, has proven to be true in reducing certain diseases. Lack of physical activity, as I said, is a risk factor for coronary heart disease, and regular exercise plays an important role in preventing certain diseases, such as diabetes. It can actually help reduce the risk of you becoming a diabetic. Exercise programs can be beneficial in controlling blood, cholesterol, and diabetes. A structured fitness program with proper nutrition can impact one's stress levels and cortisol levels So, well, cortisol and stress are pretty much the same thing. But it can impact those two in a positive way and can prevent hypertension. So when you're looking at certain stress levels that people deal with, there are a lot of people that deal with high stress. Exercise and fitness and these types of programs and systems in place can literally help prevent the negative ramifications of bad stress and anxiety and all these different diseases that are out here. Fitness and stewardship. As I said before, the reason why we as Christians, this is one thing I believe, and I'll make this statement. I believe that every Christian should have some sort of, if they're physically able, with doctor's permission, of course, should have some sort of physical activity, exercise program in place in their life. I believe that that's something that every Christian should, because it is just as important as you managing your finances and being a steward of that. It's literally a matter of stewardship and being obedient and taking care of what it is that God's given you. And this is where it shows stewardship is so important. And one of the things about stewardship, I want to say this, in the Bible, when Jesus would heal, a lot of the onus in certain cases was placed on that individual. So it wasn't just the fact that he would just go, and there were some cases where he would go by and he would heal, but there were certain cases where Jesus would actually heal someone, such as the paralytic, where he told him, take up his mat and walk. That means that it required a reaction. It required him to do something to receive the healing. And in many cases, we in the church don't really want to do anything. We want healing, but we don't want to go through the discipline and the steps to actually get to that healing, i.e. fitness. If you look at what Luke says in Luke 17, when Jesus heals the 10 lepers, he tells them to go, to walk, to go, to show themselves to the priest, and they were healed. If you look at in John 9, Jesus heals a blind man, but tells him to go wash in the pool of Siloam. And the man washed, he washed, and came home with his sight. That means that there are certain onus that God places on us to be healthy. Once you're given that material, that knowledge, it then becomes your responsibility. So if you're irresponsible over the knowledge that God's given you, because basically this knowledge, fitness, is a scientific truth. And we believe that God is truth. So if all truth belongs to God and you've received that truth, then you have a choice to be irresponsible with it or be responsible with it. And if you're irresponsible with it, then you're being a poor steward over what it is that God's given you. And just to go over a couple more examples of stewardship, and stewardship is such a serious issue in the Bible that kind of gets brushed over sometimes, but it is a very serious issue. Such as in Matthew 25 when he talks about the three servants who were given the talents. And each of them had to do something with it. The one who did nothing with his talent was taken from him. And he was banished from his master's house. So basically, if you're given this body that God has given you and you do nothing with it, then there's no reason why you should still even have it. So that's the importance of stewardship. So as I conclude, really, the whole purpose behind this is to show how biblically it is so important that we take care of our bodies, that we put the proper nutrition in, that we take the proper steps to not live a sedentary life, that we take the proper steps to maintain active exercising and healthy habits and all of these various different things. The reality is, and this is something that I always use as a correlation, when people see your life as a Christian, when they see your life as a believer, they should be able to look at you and notice a difference. They should be able to look at you and say, what is it that you're doing differently? Well, guess what? In fitness is the exact same way. When you're in fitness and you're living a certain lifestyle, people will literally, you'll attract certain people. They'll come up to you and they'll say, what are you doing that's getting you those types of results? The two are so closely related. Why do we separate them? When you change your mindset about fitness and you do it unto the Lord, it holds you more accountable than just looking like the cover of men's or women's fitness magazine or looking like the latest celebrity and trying to have a celebrity body. It holds you to a higher level of accountability because your mindset is, I'm not doing this just because I want to look this way. I'm doing this because I want to live this way. I want to be the best that God has created me to be. I want to be able to do all that He's called me to do. I don't want my life snuffed from a disease that I wasn't supposed to have. I want to get the abundant life that Jesus Christ was talking about. So that's really what we're going to be doing over these next 5 weeks. We're going to be talking about that. But before we went any further, I wanted to make sure we laid the groundwork of why this is biblical, why this is important, why we need to be living a lifestyle of fitness. Thank you.